Every provision follows purpose. Provision always follows purpose. How many of you here are parents? Raise your hand. Okay. Let's say you have a teenager that comes, one of your teenagers come to you, and they ask you, Dad, can I have 2,000 pesos? All right. And then the next question you'd say is what? What for? Why? Right? So you're trying to establish purpose. Okay? With provision, there has to be purpose. And so now you ask your son, your daughter, why do you need 2,000 pesos? Oh, because I need to buy this, or I need to buy. And so they establish the reason behind their asking for 2,000. And so that's essentially why money is a tool. It is a tool by which we can, so that we can establish, there is a purpose to why we are given this provision. Now, yesterday I told you about the Christmas parties that have started. Yesterday I was at the Ushers Christmas party, at the 12 o'clock noon Christmas party, and Ushers party. And so one person I was talking to was, I sat down with, when I got there, I sat down with one of our ushers. Her name is Chris. And Chris was telling us the story of how they ended up in church and in small group. There's a picture of Chris and her husband, Glenn. And so Chris and Glenn were, she was telling me the story, and while they were having, games and fun, and she was downloading to me the story of how they ended up in Victory and how they started coming to church, and how they got connected with, one of our Victory group leaders here, Man and Rochelle, who started doing one-to-one discipleship with them. And so while she was telling me the story, I was moved by how the Lord has touched their lives. In fact, Glenn grew up in Las Vegas. In fact, he was telling me yesterday, his wife was telling me that Glenn grew up as a gangster. Okay, literally a gangster. Okay, just drugs and gambling and all that, everything in between. He'll tell you the story. And so he said, "That's my life, Pastor. That was my life." And so they were together. Actually, they lived in for several years, and then they ended up in church. And they got, in the small group until about last year, I believe, I'm not sure if the timing is right, but just about last year, a year and a half ago, they broke up, and just for other reasons. And they wanted, somehow the Lord was, separating them, because God wanted them to, fix their own relationship with Him, and the Lord was doing certain things in their own life. But all that time, they were being discipled, and they were going through small group, they were going through one-to-one. Until September this year, and a few months before that, then they started coming back together, and their relationship with God got stronger. They decided to get married. And September this year, they actually got married. They wanted to honor God in their relationship. And so they got married this year, this September. They wanted to just have a judge and a small group of people, a few witnesses. But you know what their small group did? They started putting together in 48 hours, in 2 days, just a beautiful wedding ceremony, or at least a reception. So they had actually their small group put this together. And then some of the, they fixed the function room. They put some decorations. In fact, one guy let Chris borrow the Lexus for her bridal car, and Glenn had an FJ Cruiser for his groom's car. And then somebody in the small group just said tulips, and for the bridal flowers bouquet. All of this, and the small group pitched in, spiritual community pitched in and put this thing together. And they were just so amazed how it all came out. And so I think about it, and I was listening to Chris's story and Glenn's story, and I said, that's an amazing story of what it means to leverage what you have. And, it's a small group that paid for all this. For a couple who wants to honor God and wants to move forward with their relationship with Jesus. That's what it means to have a spiritual family. That's what it means to have in fact, their photographer was actually from church. Just everybody just pitched in. And these people were using their money and their wealth and their resources to invest in people that they'll spend for all of eternity. Okay, and that's what Jesus was trying, in effect, to say. That to use money as a kingdom tool to invest in people that will spend with for all of eternity.